In this video, I'm going to solve this question. A college has 5 departments and each department has one representative, which we denote by A, B, C, D and E. From these 5 representatives, one is to be chosen president and the second will be secretary. How many ways are there to select the 2 representatives? To make sure that you develop a good understanding of this topic, I'm going to solve this question using 3 different methods. So let's start with method number 1, which is based on pure logic. Now note that to solve these type of questions, the first thing that you have to figure out is whether the order matters or not. So let's see. So we are given that there are 5 representatives A, B, C, D and E, and out of these 5 representatives we have to choose a president and a secretary. So let's make 2 slots here. This slot is for president and this slot is for secretary. Now let's check if the order matters or not. To check whether the order matters, start with any arbitrary outcome. So let me write one of the possible outcomes that we can have. So one of the possible outcomes could be that A becomes president and let's say D becomes secretary. So this is one of the possible outcomes that we can have. Now I have to check what will happen if I change this ordering. So let me make 2 slots again. This one is for president and this one is for secretary. Now if I change the ordering of this outcome, that would mean that D will come here and A will come here. Now as you can see, these 2 outcomes are not one and the same thing. If you change the order of the outcomes, you get another possible outcome. So in the outcome number 1, A is the president and D is the secretary. In outcome number 2, D is the president and A is the secretary, and these are different outcomes. So these are different outcomes. So in this case, the ordering of the outcome matters. These 2 outcomes are not same, so it matters the way you order it. Now after finding that the ordering of the outcome matters, let's see in how many ways we can select 2 representatives out of the 5 representatives. So because we have to select 2 representatives, so let's make 2 slots here. And this one is for president and this one is for secretary. Now out of these 5 representatives, any representative can become a president. So that means there are 5 ways to fill this slot. Now after one of these representatives become a president, we are left with 4 representatives who can take the place of secretary. So that means there are 4 ways to fill this slot. And we have to choose a president and a secretary. So this is 5 ways multiplied by 4 ways. So this is equal to 20 ways. So the answer is 20 ways. Note that it was very important to find whether the ordering matters or not, because if the ordering does not matter, then you cannot solve it in this manner. You will have to make a small change here and we will see that change in the next question. So this is the method number 1, pure logic. Now let's move to method number 2. In this method, we are going to solve this question using a direct formula. So this method number 2 is formula method. Now note that we have already found that the order of the outcome matters. So when the ordering matters, we use permutations, and when the ordering does not matter, we use combinations. So in this case, because the ordering matters, we are going to work with permutations, and this is the formula that we are going to use. So the formula is number of permutations of n different things taken r at a time is given by npr, which is n factorial divided by n minus r factorial. So in this case, we have 5 different representatives A, B, C, D and E. That means our n is equal to 5 and we have to select 2 representatives. That means r is equal to 2. So we can directly use this formula, and according to this formula, the answer should be 5p2, which is equal to 5 factorial divided by 5 minus 2 factorial. This is 5 factorial divided by 3 factorial, which is equal to 5 multiplied by 4, and this is equal to 20 ways. Now before I move to method number 3, keep in mind that you can only use this formula if you have n different things. In this case, we have 5 different representatives and the repetition should not be allowed, which was implicit in this case, because if you choose someone as president, you cannot choose the same person as secretary. So keep these 2 things in your mind, that the n objects that you have should be distinct n distinct objects, and the repetition should not be allowed. Repetition not allowed. Only then you can use this formula. Now let's move to our method number 3. Your method number 3 is anagram method. Method 3, anagram. And in this method, I'm going to use this formula to solve this question. So basically the problem is that we have 5 representatives and we have to select 2 representatives, 1 president and 1 secretary. So given this information, I'm going to divide these 5 representatives into different categories. So let's say that B is selected as president. So B becomes president, and let's say that D is selected as secretary. Now, because B and D are selected, that means A is not selected, C is not selected, and E is not selected. So B is president, D is secretary, A, C and E are not selected. So if you view these things as categories, that would mean that A, C and E are in the same category and B and D are in the different category. Or in other words, I can say that A, C and E are of one type. They are not selected. B is of one type, B is the president, and D is of another type, he is the secretary. So now if we interpret this situation in this manner, we can directly use this formula. So what is our n in this case? N is 5. And A, C and E are of one type. So we can say that P is 3. This P is 3. Q is equal to 1 and R is equal to 1. And using this formula, we can write that the answer should be 5 factorial divided by 3 factorial, 1 factorial, 1 factorial. And this is equal to 5 multiplied by 4 equal to 20 ways. This method is quite useful and you will see that you can solve many questions using this particular method. So this is all for this lecture.